What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to version 1. Now, if you've been following the channel for a little while, you know I didn't start things off with the Megane. It started with this, the Renault Clio. And my most popular video today is the full modifications list that I had and that I did for that car. So, you've guessed it, today we're going to be going through every single modification I have on the Megane, where to source it, and if there was an installation, how hard was it to do. So, skid it! So before we get into today's video, make sure you leave a like rating if you enjoy this sort of content. Consider sharing it with a friend, or if you're new here, even better, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you ring the bell notification to find your way back for any future content. Also, all of these mods in the list will be linked down in the description where I sourced them from, and I'll try and timestamp it for you so you can flick through to the bits that you want to see. And I'll be putting in there the links to the video if I did do a solo video for that part that I'm talking about at the time. So, run it. So, starting things off with the Maxton V1 Front splitter. Now, I know this is the most popular one, but all for good reason. I personally think this is the best looking one that they offer, simply because it follows the body lines perfect, it's not expensive. I know people have told horror stories of, you know, cracking them on stuff and breaking them and stuff, but if you're fairly careful with it, I've been careful with it and I've caught it once, and that was the underneath of it, so it didn't actually affect the look of it, so I didn't chip it, crack it or anything like that. If you're just careful with those sort of things, especially when it's so near to the floor. Obviously you're going to get markings and stuff on it because it is so close to the floor, but just keep in mind that it's there, and then you shouldn't have any issues with it. And like I say, it adds quite a lot of aggression to the front. I like the cutout in the middle where it looks kind of like that kind of airflowy look that goes underneath. I prefer it to the V2 look where it's quite plain, the V2 look, where it's kind of all the way across. I get why people go for that kind of thing, but I wanted to go for a more obvious front splitter this time round, because a lot of the time, a lot of the front splitters I normally go for on older cars have kind of just been like a piece of plastic or something that can also double up as protecting your bumper. So at the end of the day, I'd rather smash that Maxton off of a speed bumper than my actual bumper itself. So, sticking with Maxton is the rear spoiler lip. I know this isn't for everyone, but personally I like the way it adds a little flip to the back. I had this on my Clio Mark IV and I loved it. Obviously the Clio got away with it a little bit better because it was black on black, but I do still think this adds a little bit of personality to the back of these cars, because I don't know why it is, but with these more modern hot hatches, they don't really have much going on other than like the AMG Aero pack where they have like an actual little wing on the hot hatches, and I see a lot of people adding sort of wings to their hatches to add that little bit of personality, like I say, to the back of the car. So this is cheap, it's reversible as well, so if you put it on and for any reason you don't like it, you can just pull it off. When installing this, be careful obviously, because you want to watch out for, if you stick it down, it probably won't come back up because the adhesive is super strong. So just take care of that when you're doing that sort of thing. Make sure you line it up nice and straight, and it will sit in the lip of the spoiler perfectly because there's kind of like a cutout, so it sits perfectly in there. So just take your time with it. I did a little video on that anyway, which I'll leave down in the description because there's going to be too many links to leave up above. So it's no big deal, but personally for me I like it, but it does add a little flick to the back, like I say, and add a little bit of personality to the rear. Next on the list, I've got the front badge tint and the rear light tint. When I say tints, I don't mean the whole unit being tinted, because I'm personally not into that. They kind of look like bin bags stretched over a headlight. But up the front, the Renault badge, the diamond, is very big and it's chrome, and I'm not into chrome regardless. When I went to have this car Dechromed, which we'll get into in a moment, the lads down there suggested, why don't we tint the front badge, take some of the intensity out, and I was like, yeah, cool, let's go for it. And while I was there, I had the centres of the rear lights tinted as well. So the front badge is running just a single ply light smoke that you'd normally put on a headlight or a rear light. but just a single ply on there to take the intensity out, like I say, so when the light hits it, it's not so like just chrome hitting you in the face. And on the rears, it's a double ply, so it looks more stealthy. It looks kind of like part of the rear light unit, because the rear lights are actually quite dark, and the centers of the phase 1 rear lights are like bright white. So having that black little tint in there just brings the whole light into one, and I think it looks so much better. Had a surprising amount of you message me about the RS plaque in the front. Now this was something I got from K&R Graphics a long time ago, fairly early on to when I had the car actually, but I'm not sure if they do them anymore. But I'll leave the link in the description down below, obviously as per with all the other parts, and if they do, then I mean drop them a message. Again, this was to do with some of the dechroming process, because it just had the RS badge on the front on the phase 1s, and the phase 2's got the kind of like plaque design, and this is what that is kind of inspired from. So I removed the lettering from there and then just stuck that on, like I say, from K&R Graphics when Ryan was owning it. So like I say, I don't know if they still do it, but I'll leave their website down below so you can have a little look, and if not, drop them guys a message. Now next on the list, we'll finally get to the whole dechroming. When I got the car, I didn't really realise, because I hadn't seen it in person as I bought it through COVID, that there's quite a lot of chrome on this car. Not my kind of style personally, so it was one of the things that was on the top of my list before I had all the paint corrected to get done. Door seals, the door seals, the door handles, the side vent parts where it says Renaultsport, rear badge, and the surround for the exhaust all got done in a black. Now the door seals got done in matte satin black to match the rest of the door trims, because there's no reason really for me to put them in gloss, and all of the other bits got done in a gloss black. So the rear badge, the exhaust surround, because it's actually got a plastic surround and then the metal surround inside, so that got done in a gloss black. Door handles, all 4 of them got done in gloss black as well, and the vent sides bits as well. But I left part of the chrome out only because I'd lose the Renaultsport logo, so I thought it'd be easier to just go around that, and then you can keep the logo there and obviously delete most of the chrome. Also part of the dechroming process was the rear badge delete. Now I got rid of the Megane badge and I got rid of the RS badge. Deleting the RS badge wasn't intentional, but once I saw it with a completely clean boot lid, I just thought it looked really good. It kind of looked out of place when I put it back on, because I actually went to get a black RS badge to put on there with the red logo, but when I put it on, it just didn't look right. It just looked weird, and after getting rid of the Megane badge on the back and everything looking super clean, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep the boot lid completely bare, and I just think personally it looks lovely, and it's so much nicer and real nice clean look to the back, along with the other mods to support it. Next on the list, the controversial wiper delete. This modification is something I've always liked about with hatchbacks that have glass mounted wipers, is that you can delete the wiper and make it look like it basically wasn't there or shouldn't be there. And as per usual, the only place to go to, the goats of wiper deletes, Killer Wipers. I ran their kit on the Mark IV Clio and it was sweet. It was a lot harder job on there, but that's not their fault, that's the car. So I did a little video on this, which like I say, I'll leave down in the description, of installing this myself, and it was super easy because the motor came straight out and stuff, and the car was fairly new, so I didn't have much drama getting the actual wiper arm off, because that's what I struggled with the Clio being older. If not, there is a tool you can get, which I didn't have access to at the time, but there is a tool you can get which kind of like prise it off, which just means you haven't got to put any sort of weight or put a lot of passion into it, because you do not want to crack the rear window. The thing I love about wiper delete kits is, on paper they do seem like something that's quite subjective, but I literally never use a rear wiper, and it adds so much cleanliness to the back, like with the debadging and all of that sort of stuff. When you actually get rid of that wiper and the whole rear end is just completely smooth, it just looks so much nicer. Such a cleaner look, and the Megane has got such an elegant look to it. I feel like the wiper delete just finishes the back off completely. And like I say, there's a video on it down below. I won't go into it too much, but yeah, if you want to watch more on this, check it out down below. We can't move on from the back without mentioning the Oil Slick version 1 sticker. Now I've been getting a lot of messages from you guys about these, and they are coming back in stock real soon. So if you guys want one and you want to represent the channel, then I appreciate it. Hit me up on Instagram and we'll sort it out. Now getting into some of the juicy stuff, some of the performance mods. Starting things off with the exhaust system. If you've been following the channel for a little while, you know I've been going through a couple of iterations, shall we say, to get it to this point where we're at now. But the system I'm running at the moment is the GT Performance GPF Delete downpipe, mated with the K-tec Racing SUPERSPORT cat back. Kept the valve as well because it's the SUPERSPORT. It means that the valve bypass system is still there, but this was the non-resonated version, and as you know, I hated it. Straight pipes. I ended up with a resonator in the middle that I put in, and things just sound so much better. It's not that it was too loud, it just sounded crap. So that's the only way I can really put it. But now it sounds so much better, so much nicer, and I actually enjoy driving it on a daily basis. So the exhaust I didn't do myself. The catback was actually fitted at K-tec Racing, which I'll leave the video down below as mentioned. But the downpipe I did do with a friend. So shout out to you, Shane, for helping out. It wasn't hard, but it was very much, it was a timely process. There were certain things you just had to remove. There was no cutting corners. We had a pry bar in there to move the engine forward to let the actual unit drop out, because the actual standard GPF unit is massive. The new pipe going in, drama free, straight in, no problems. But getting the old one out where it's so tight in there, where these new modern cars have been designed, it was just a bit of a struggle. So just don't cut corners. Again, like I say, done a video on this a whole lot down below. Just make sure you take your time if you're going to do it yourself. If not, just pay someone else to do it, because it's going to be a 3-hour job, I reckon, by the time you get stuff out of the way, because there's so many things out of the way. There's about 5 different sensors on the downpipe, and you just take your time, don't break anything. There's some tricks and tips in the GPF Delete video below if you want to check it out. The first mod in the Road to Remap series through K-tec Racing was their air intake system. Now, I knew I wanted to get this done at the time because, like I say, I was running that Road to Remap series through K-tec Racing, but there wasn't any other ones on the market at that time. So I know I needed something like that soon enough to get on the car before the map. Now, I know there's more on the market now, which the Forge one is very popular with people at that moment, and like I said, I can't say I've had any issues with the K-tec system that I'm running. Sounds good, it's not over loud. My last system from AirTech on the Clio was super loud. I had to quieten it down with a diverter valve. It sounds good, it's got the whooshy sounds, the intake sounds that you want, but it's not too abrasive. It's not popping and pshing everywhere every time you lift off the throttle, which is great. And like I say, give you that little bit of performance gain when you get in there and have it actually done on a remap. Again, I fitted this myself. Link down in the description if you want to check it out. Now, talking of spooly, whooshy noises, I should probably mention the Forge spacer. Now, this is a spacer plate that sits in the middle of the standard unit. Super easy to fit, takes like 5 minutes. Another one I did myself, down in the description. And it just gives you a little bit more ambient noise when letting off the throttle, and a little bit more just turbo drama in general, really. Quite a pleasant surprise, quite a pleasant noise. Woo, big bang. Nothing really invasive, nothing too over the top really either, that was really hard to get across on film when I filmed it. But there's, like I say, it's just a bit more of that ambient noise from a turbo car, which you can really enjoy, like the flutters and stuff like that. It's just one of them really simple, easy mods, and like I say, it was 40 quid, and it's super easy to fit, and if you don't like it, you can just put it off. It was something worth a try. I tried it, I like it, and it's still on the car. Next on the list is the Wagner front mount intercooler kit. This replaces the standard unit, so it's a vertically mounted unit as opposed to a full front mount, and I went down this route because I didn't really know the ins and outs of going for a full front mount on these Mark IVs, and there wasn't any out at the time when I was going for it. So as mentioned, I went for the Wagner tuning kit, however you pronounce it. This comes with obviously the unit itself in a nice satin black, so it's real stealthy behind the bumper, and it comes with the top pipe as well, which I really enjoyed because the standard pipe is very flimsy, and it worried me about, especially when you're up in the boost and stuff like that, it just being like You know when you see like pipes just suck in on themselves and stuff. This is a lot more durable pipe, and like I say, you can't run the standard pipe anyway on the Wagner. It's got the top pipe that comes in and the cooler itself, and it's such a lovely design piece. Now this isn't a sponsor, so I'm not flogging you this piece, but I'm just letting you guys know, when you're installing something like this, if it's well made, it will be so much more enjoyable to install. The hardest part was getting everything out the way, to be fair. Most of the front end of the car does have to come off, but like I say, fitted this myself as well. I would still do it again because it means that I can look after the car and I know exactly what's been done. But we just took our time, took one thing off at a time: bumper, slam panels, other little bits and bobs that were in the way. The bumper, the bonnet catch and everything started to get in the way because like I say, the actual whole slam panel had to come off. But it didn't take us actually that long. So by the time we'd got all of that stuff out the way, it was there. The biggest issue we had was actually getting the old unit out. For some reason, someone else has had this issue as well. We're getting the old unit out of the feet for some reason is super tough.
Your mum.
I'm tempted to punch it off.
Get under there and look at that and just tell me.
But we did it in the end. We moved everything out of the way, didn't cut any corners, didn't break anything. And like I say, this Wagner Tuning Intercooler went straight in there, and it's got like these perfect little cutouts for where the aircon lines run and stuff. And I just really appreciate the time and effort that they went through with the designing of that kit, because it means that it makes your life easier with installing it, and it means you're not going to rub through anything, which I've done previously and it sucks. So all those performance mods, you'd assume I'm running some sort of upped power, and you'd be correct. On my second trip to RS Tuning, first of all I was tuned at K-tec Racing. Like I said, I was on like a kind of stage 1 for you German guys, basically on a catback system and an intake. Went and made about 3.8, I think it was 318 it made. Pretty disappointed with the numbers at the time, but it is what it is. That's not their fault, it's just I just expected more of the car really. But then I started looking into the intercooler and like I said, GPF delete to try and make a bit more flow, make a bit more power. After getting those mods, I went down to Paul at RS Tuning and had the map tweaked, because he originally did do the map just remotely via K-tec. Went to see him down at RS Tuning and he done his wizardry as per usual and got the car to somewhere around 340 horsepower. It pulled 3 different, like 337, 341 and 336. So it's around that mark somewhere. You can definitely tell the difference. Not so much through the downpipe. The downpipe definitely is more responsive, but I don't think the power was made so much through that. I think the power was made from being able to keep things cooler, and like I say, the Wagner Intercooler alongside those other mods meant that we could just do pull after pull after pull, and it was doing, like I say, it was within a couple of horsepower by the time Paul had finished doing air fuel and sorted everything out and made everything smooth. It was run after run after run, it was within a couple of horsepower, so this is exactly what you want the intercooler kit for, so you can just keep doing consistent times, and especially when you're out on track, you can just keep the temps nice and consistent and just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. Now something I did early on to keep hold of all this spicy plans was the lower torque mount. Now I'd done this initially to prevent some wheel hop and stuff. That's potentially due to the old Bridgestone tyres, which were cack. To stop wheel hop on a front wheel drive car, you know, this is one of those things, and it stops a lot of the engine movement as well, so it can feel more responsive, especially on throttle. I had this on the Clio Mark IV and it was perfect, and I went for the same thing basically with the Megane. It's a yellow-purple hybrid, like I've said. I fitted this myself as well, so again, down in the description. It was a super easy mod, just 2 bolts. It allows the engine a lot less flex and means that the car, like, you can drive in every mode now. Beforehand, like race mode and stuff, especially if you're moving traffic or you're pottering around town, could be a bit jerky. I'm normally in sport mode, but for the time that I do get caught out in race mode, it was quite a bit jerky, and you can be a lot more modular with this torque mount on the bottom. It was surprisingly noticeable, and I think people do sleep on these easy mods because they don't think it does anything, but it's only going to be better for the whole car experience, that the engine moves less, and like I say, a lot less wheel hop, because these cars do have quite a spiky torque curve, especially where I'm running the map. It's a very spiky torque curve, so if you floor it, the car will judder forward like with that kind of wheel hop sensation. So yeah, don't sleep on it. Powerflex torque mount, go get yourself one. Now the latest and greatest modification on the Megane is the ProTrack 1 wheel in an 18x9 and a 50 offset. A lot of you guys loved it, a lot of you guys didn't. So obviously swapping from the standard wheels, like I say, dropping down an inch, meant that I've got a bulkier tyre on there, which means I'm running the Pilot Sport Cup 2s on there now. They are unbelievable tyres. the whole package overall, like I say, I've dropped like 12 kg in unsprung weight on the wheel, and the Cut 2 is obviously hard to tire wall and all that sort of stuff, so everything dropped in together just feels unbelievable with the handling of the car. Getting these wheels was possible thanks to Jamie. Once again, I'll leave his link down in the description, his Instagram down in the description, or check out his TikTok because he does those too. Now, you guys that have been following me for a little while know now that I like to fill my arches. ET50 was not aggressive enough for me. So now I'm running a 10mm spacer square all the way around just to fill the arches a little bit more on those Pro Track wheels, and running the extended bolts as supplied for by Dan RSS. Massive shout out to him for supplying those for me, because that means that I don't have to put a socket around the actual wheel nut itself, because it's super tight in those Pro Track wheels. And where I had the wheels refurbed on like a couple of days after I got them to make them pristine again, it was super tight in there. Having the Allen key sort of style where it goes in the actual wheel nut and then you have the bolt on top meant that there was no sort of scrub, and it meant that there was no marking in the wheel as well. We have to try and fit like a slimline socket in there, so two birds with one stone with that. Like I say, shout out to Dan for supplying those for us. Now, last thing I've got on the list here to pull everything together is the Cooksport lowering springs. Now, I looked into coilovers for this car and they are super expensive and super out of my budget right now. So, running Cooksport springs was the only way to go. I'd heard really good things about them, and I actually spoke to someone at their department that recommended these springs, and they said to about a 30mm drop, which is perfect for what I was looking for at the time, because I was still on the standard 19s and I was running a 16mm spacer, so I was super aggressive. But like I say, as per usual, the lowering of the car just makes it look even wider, even thicker, and the 10mm spaces on there. And we had a wheel alignment done fairly recently after my incident. If you don't know about the incident, I'll put it up there. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to get past it. After the incident, we had a -1.5 degree on all four corners added down at the tyre slot up in Whitton, local to me. Those guys done me a four-wheel alignment because I wanted to check that nothing was out of line from the incident, because the two fronts took some damage, and at the same time I had negative camber put in on the rears because I wanted a bit of camber in the back just to give it a little bit more of that look, like I said, that racier look, and tuck in under the arches. So there's absolutely no way those wheels are scrubbing, even with the 10mm spacer. And to be fair, I could probably push it a little bit more if I wanted to. So at this point, I have absolutely no idea how long this video has gone on, but we're going to end it there. Every link will be down in the description for where I sourced it, if I sourced the part myself, or if I did a video on it, so show you guys little tips and stuff on how you can install it yourself. And I do recommend you guys get involved and start wrenching on your own car, because you do learn a lot about your car if you have the means and the space to do so, and the friends and the tools, even more importantly. Get at it. Don't be scared to have a go at it. If it's obviously something super technical like a remap and stuff, don't mess around. Just get that done properly. But other stuff like fitting exhausts and intakes and stuff, you know, like I say, I enjoy wrenching on the car myself, so you guys can too. So don't be scared to do it. Just take your time and go bit by bit. Any questions, anything that I can try and help you out with, all the links in the description. If there's nothing in there that answers your questions, you know where to find me. Down in the comments or in my Instagram, which I'll leave on the screen right now. Make sure you leave a like rating, share this with a friend, or even consider subscribing. Much appreciate it. Ring the bell notification to find your way back for any future content. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.